the part everybody's been talking about publicly, this disinformation governance board, that is the tip of the iceberg. The big thing is this program they've already built under CISA, which again is what we're discussing now. Briefly, I should note that we've already seen this play out to an extent. Epic Times, of course, we've been reporting on the whole January 6th trials as people who were protesting there have been arrested, spent over a year in solitary confinement. Really terrible stuff, stuff that's not constitutional. One of the big questions that they're being asked when they stand trial, right, as they're being put on trial to see whether they're guilty of like trying to overthrow the American system, whatever, right? One of the big questions they're being asked is, do you believe the election was stolen? And they're being asked even to renounce their beliefs. If they believe the election was stolen by Biden, they're being told, and by the Democrats, they're being told to renounce their belief. This is happening right now in these trials. Thought crime, as we speak, is being implemented in these trials. And so, we're talking about the, applications of this and the systems they've created for this. There are already people being prosecuted as we speak who are being found guilty or not guilty of thought crime. Do you believe the 2020 election was stolen? Now, on that note, folks, this week is going to be the week where Dinesh D'Souza releases his new documentary, 2000 Mules. I did an interview with Dinesh. We're going to be airing that this coming Friday. I'm also going to be at Mar-a-Lago this week at the film premiere. I'll keep you all updated on that. I think I've watched a screener of it. This documentary is going to change the discussion in this country. That documentary is going to change things. It is shocking. It's shocking what is shown in it. I'm not going to spoil anything for you all. Check it out. It's coming out this week. Again, that's 2000 Mules. This coming Friday as well, I'll also have Dinesh D'Souza on, show you the interview we did. Folks, this is going to change the discussion in this country. And maybe that's why they're trying to create thought police, folks. Maybe that's why they've pulled off the mask, so to speak, and they're rolling out full on with this whole ministry of truth, because a big focus of this ministry of truth, as they're calling it, as people are calling it, is a focus on what they call election disinformation. And by disinformation, I think they mean actual true information in this case, because frankly, it's undeniable stuff. Video surveillance evidence, phone tracking data, actual people involved who step forward as witnesses, who are willing to testify and come out and say exactly what they were paid money to do. It is going to change the discussion in this country when it comes out. But let me explain to you a bit more what this program is. Again, this disinformation MDM program, they're calling it, currently already at work under the Department of Homeland Security. The Disinformation Governance Board they've created is part of this, but this is like the meat. The Disinformation Governance Board everybody's talking about, that's like a top level, like, again, board where they're discussing this kind of stuff. What we're going over right now is like the meat and potatoes. This is what the system actually is doing, these types of operations, targeting information. Let me show you this, folks. Go back to that website. Under the tab they have, which is building resilience, they call it, right? They call this tab building resilience. They say, and we'll go into questions after this, but I want to kind of finish up this part before we go into questions. It says the MDM team, again, it's misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation team. The team's plan for building national resilience through public awareness and engagement is focused on 3 categories of stakeholders, people involved in other words, to enable a whole of society approach. And folks, that is a direct quote, a whole of society approach. So this is not just a whole of government program where, again, they've mentioned the Department of Defense, the Pentagon, the State Department, Department of Homeland Security, state government, local government, the government is an entirety, basically, federal and local and state, but also a whole of society approach. That is how big this system they've already built to counter information. Again, working as the Minister of Truth. This is how big it already is as we speak. And it says this: subject matter experts, they call them SMEs. The MDM team engages SMEs, subject matter experts, maybe journalists, maybe, quote unquote academics, maybe Other folks they've deemed to be experts, like fact checkers, for example, maybe that's what they mean. It says they've engaged them to enhance her understanding of the threat and how to mitigate the impact of information activities, and to include how best to message to the public. Why is the government talking about how best to message to the public? Engaging with what they call subject matter experts. Now, who are these subject matter experts? Are these media organizations? Are these the fact checkers we've seen suddenly spurred up amidst all this stuff? Are these, maybe, think tanks or something else? We don't know. Right? Maybe, hopefully, we'll get answers on this. But they're working with the government to again find out how to give messaging to you, to us. That's what they're talking about here. Now it says this: SMEs include researchers, think tanks, and marketing slash advertising experts. Trusted voices, the other part of this. The federal government cannot solve the MDM problem on its own. Apparently, the entire federal government, just about state government, local government, and also subject matter experts, folks, they say all of that, that entire system, the entire federal government, the entire state government, the entire local government, and also experts they're engaging, think tanks, again, marketing, advertising experts, researchers, all of that's not enough. Their exact words: the federal government cannot solve the MDM problem on its own. We need both trusted voices and those who can amplify resilience messaging. Now, who amplifies the messaging of the government's propaganda department, of this ministry of truth, right? Who are these people? Let's go into this. It says we need these trusted voices again to amplify. Trusted voices, they're saying. Oh, sorry, I lost my point. One sec. Now it says trusted voices include state and local government officials, community leaders, and associations. Now, who are these community leaders working hand in hand with the government, the federal government, the State Department, and the local government? And again, with all these subject matter experts, think tanks, and others, who are these community leaders and these associations they claim are involved with this? And who are these local government officials as well? Folks, this is like, again, not just a whole of government program focused on manipulating you with information, focused on managing misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation, true information, false information, anything that goes against their interests, in other words, whether it's true or false. Not only is it the government, not only is it states, not only is it tribal governments, even, not only is it think tanks, not only is it subject matter experts, but it's also community leaders and associations and others they say are involved with this. This is a whole of government program and a whole of society program. This is how big this is. And why is it that we were not told about this thing? It says the engagement with trusted voices helps the MDM reach communities targeted by previous MDM campaigns. And it gets even bigger than this. This isn't even the end of it. Under another tab, which is bridging election stakeholders. There's the elections. Bridging election stakeholders and social media. And maybe this is why they're freaking out so much that Elon Musk is talking about buying Twitter, folks, or why Trump just launched Truth Social. Maybe this is why they need to find out new ways to control social media and what's discussed there, when, again, people are talking about getting rid of censorship, because they've built this ministry of truth to work hand in hand with social media. Anybody talking about it's a private company, Twitter, right? It's a private company. They can do whatever they want. It's a private company until you have government programs working hand in hand with them and doing things they cannot legally do through a public-private partnership, violating the Constitution through proxy. That is what this is. It says the MDM team serves as a switchboard for routing disinformation concerns to appropriate social media platforms and law enforcement. There you have it, folks. Again, the MDM team serves as a switchboard. They are working hand in hand, a switchboard to route disinformation concerns, right? They are attacking information. They're doing things they cannot legally do because the federal government cannot regulate information. That is illegal for them. that violates the First Amendment of the Constitution. To get around that, they've created a public private partnership to violate the Constitution. This, again, hand in hand system, this switchboard for routing disinformation. And it says, and to appropriate social media platforms and law enforcement. The actual word they use is appropriate. This activity, they say, began in 2018, supporting state and local election officials to mitigate disinformation about the time, place, and manner of voting. You hear that, folks? They were involved in the election system. They were involved in the 2018 elections with this, the midterm elections where Democrats had some victories. Now, for the 2020 election, again, when Biden came into office, CISA expanded the breadth of reporting to include other state and local officials and more social media platforms. Now, they don't tell us which social media platforms, but they say even more social media platforms, like maybe the Zuckerberg program that, again, poured money to the election system and, again, was being cited as possibly a major system of voter fraud. We'll see how that plays out. They are being called out as doing things that were possibly illegal during the elections. Was Facebook one of these? And if so, was Facebook getting financial incentives? And was that money that Zuckerberg poured into our elections part of that? We need answers, folks.